The village of Ndimu had always been a place of peace. Crops grew tall, the rivers ran full, and the people lived under the rule of King Django, a man both feared and respected. But peace is a fragile thing, easily shattered by greed and arrogance. It all began with the witch doctor, Olam. He had served the kingdom for decades, healing the sick, guiding the spirits, and protecting the land with his powerful charms. His wisdom was unmatched, his magic unquestioned. But power breeds envy, and King Django, once a humble ruler, began to see Olam not as an ally, but as a threat. Rumors started to spread. Some whispered that Olam was too powerful, that he spoke with the spirits in ways no man should. Others claimed he was the reason the king's firstborn had fallen ill. The truth was simple: Django wanted to rule without challenge, and Olam was the last man who stood in his way. One fateful evening, the king summoned Olam to his palace. The air was thick with the scent of burning incense, and warriors lined the great hall, their spears gleaming in the firelight. The old witch doctor, wrapped in his leopard skin cloak, walked in slowly, his staff clicking against the stone floor. "You have served this kingdom well, Olam," the king said, his voice smooth like poisoned honey. "But your time here has come to an end." Olam narrowed his eyes. "Why do you speak in riddles, my king?" Django stood from his throne. "The spirits whisper of treachery in my court. They tell me that a man seeks to claim power for himself. They speak of you." A murmur ran through the gathered nobles. Olam let out a low chuckle, shaking his head. "The spirits have been kind to you, Django. They have protected your throne. And now, you turn your back on them." The king's face darkened. "You will not twist my words with your tricks. You are banished from this land, Olam. If you return, you will be killed." Silence filled the room. Even the warriors hesitated. Banishment was a fate worse than death. To be cast away from the land of one's ancestors was to be stripped of everything: family, honor, even one's soul. Olam took a deep breath, then nodded. He turned slowly, walking away with the grace of a man who still held power. But as he reached the palace doors, he stopped. The torches flickered, and the air turned suddenly cold. He did not turn back as he spoke. "You have made a grave mistake, King Django. You banish me, but you do not know what you bring upon yourself. You will remember this night. You will beg for my return. And when you do, I will not come." With that, he stepped into the darkness. That night, the sky turned red. The winds howled like mourning spirits. And in the palace, King Django's newborn son let out a cry, then fell silent forever. The curse had begun. By dawn, the palace was in chaos. The cries of the royal family echoed through the halls as the queen clutched her lifeless child, her screams piercing the morning air. The healers rushed in, burning herbs, chanting prayers, and rubbing sacred oils on the baby's cold skin, but it was useless. The boy, heir to the throne, was dead. King Django sat on his throne, his face like carved stone. His advisors whispered among themselves, their eyes filled with fear. They all knew what had happened. Olam's parting words rang in their ears like an unshakable omen. "The curse has begun," one elder muttered. Django stood abruptly, his anger boiling over. "Enough of this nonsense. My son was sickly from birth. This is no curse, it is misfortune." But even as he spoke, doubt gnawed at him. Olam had always warned that betraying the spirits would bring consequences. And now, his son was dead on the very night of the witch doctor's banishment. Then came the voices. At night, the palace guards reported hearing whispers in the corridors, soft at first, like the wind, but growing louder until it seemed the very walls were speaking. Some swore they heard Olam's voice, laughing in the darkness. Others claimed they saw shadows moving where there were none. The queen, once a woman of great strength, began to waste away. She refused to eat, sitting for hours by the empty cradle of her son, murmuring prayers to the ancestors. Django, still unwilling to believe the truth, sent his warriors into the forests to hunt down Olam. "Bring him back," he commanded. Drag him before me and make him undo whatever magic he has cast. But the warriors did not return. Days turned into weeks, and still, no sign of them. Fear gripped the kingdom. No one dared to speak Olam's name aloud anymore, as if it alone carried power. Then, on the seventh night, Django awoke to a strange sound outside his chamber. A deep, rhythmic thumping. Boom! 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 It echoed through the halls, growing louder, vibrating through the stone walls. It was a sound Django knew well. The sound of a drum. His breath caught in his throat. No one played the sacred drums at night. It was forbidden. The drums were only for ceremonies, for calling upon the spirits. And yet, there it was, a slow, steady rhythm, pulsing like a heartbeat in the darkness. Boom! Boom! Boom!